Okay, I'm ready to score. My bread is ready. My oven is almost ready. So I have rice flour. You can use regular wheat flour, but a couple of reasons to use rice flour is that it does not burn at as low a temperature as wheat flour, so it stays whiter and doesn't get an off flavor as easily. It also it takes a lot more to turn it gummy, so it absorbs a lot more water, so it doesn't turn into paste as readily. So those are the two main reasons to use rice flour. But if you don't have rice flour, just use wheat flour. It will be fine. Maybe you'll even prefer it. I have a spray bottle with water. I'm going to use not the stream, but the spray. I'm going to moisten the surface. You can use a pastry brush for this. My bread is firm enough. I'm just using my hand to rub the water around. I don't want it to be really wet, just moist. And then I'm going to use a fine sieve, and I'm not going to shake the sieve. That makes it a little bit more difficult to control. In pastry and in bread making, we prefer to take the sieve and knock it against our hand, and then we're able to get a little more control over how much is falling and exactly where. I don't like a lot of flour on top of my bread. I just don't enjoy that flavor. It's very popular right now, but so I don't do it very heavily. The reason to put the flour on top is to get a contrast. You can certainly score with your lamb without the flour, but the advantage that the flour gives you is it gives you a contrast so you can see what you do. So I have two lambs here. I have the lamb that I used to do my deep scoring. Sorry, that was the oven being preheated. So I'm going to use the regular lamb that still has some bread from the last one I scored. I'm going to use that for my deep, long score. This one is a little bit harder to control for intricate scoring. So for that, I'm going to use this smaller lamb that gives me a little bit more control over fine cuts, a little bit more protected. So when I'm ready, when I'm done with, I'm going to do my intricate design first, and then I'm going to score the deep score. Some people do that differently. I find it more difficult to do that. So, and also the deep score collapses your bread more, so I want to do that second. Smaller scoring doesn't have that same effect. So I don't need to cut very deep. I think that a wheat stalk is one of my favorite things to cut. And so I'm not doing it very deep, but you can see, once it's done, how you like it. Maybe I'll do another one that's a little bit curvy. Or you could just do one. This one won't show up quite as well. Okay, so just some very simple lines and smaller lines for the wheat. Now, I'm going to do my deeper cut. Again, this is, I've shown this before, but you don't want to cut straight for maximum openness and ear development, as we call it. You want to cut at an angle, almost flat, at least 45 degrees, and on the side, not in the middle. So I'm going to do a relatively deep cut, like that, and then I'm going to put it in the oven. I'll show it to you when it comes out. Okay, my bread is ready to go in, and I'm going to stencil it. I chose this stencil. Obviously you can stencil it the same on a batard or a boule, a round or a oblong. I have my rice flour, a fine sieve, my lame, and I'm now going to turn the loaf over. Oh, and the other thing I have is a spray bottle with water in it. Okay, so I'm looking at this, thinking about how it's going to go on compared to where I'm going to cut. So I'm going to spray this lightly with water. That will help both the stencil and the rice flour stick. So you can spread it. Get a little thing in my bread here. You can use a pastry brush or your fingers. I'm just gonna lightly rub the water around, and now I'm going to put the stencil on, and you can see that the stencil sticks because of the water. The loaf is curved, so I'll stick this part after I put flour on the top part. So when you use a sieve in the bake shop, you don't want to just shake it like this, like you may be used to in another forum. Pastry people prefer to control exactly how much comes out. So you want to hit it against your hand instead. So I'm now going to bring it down a little bit. The side will be a little more difficult because okay. Now very carefully, I'm going to pull it off and try to keep all the flour on. Try to not have it fall off. And now I am going to score the loaf. Again, we want a deep score. We don't usually cut straight. So I'm going to score deeply with almost a flat lame, and it's ready to go into the oven. I'll show you the picture when it comes out.